Okay, this is going to be a demonstration of the interface where biodiversity monitoring data is either imported or manually entered. When you create a new project within the FEAST software, it creates a number of different files. One will be a data file for storing information about different landscape features, all the data about those. There may also be files that you create for the mapping interface. But another file that we create in the background is a database for storing biodiversity monitoring data for your project, for your farm, for your landscape, whatever that happens to be. So it gets created, it's in the background. I'll open up the demonstration file here. When you open a file, it gives you a list of all the files that are in that project. So we can see here the EFA file, that's our data about landscape features. The shape file here, that's a GIS file, so that's for the mapping interface. And then there's this BMD file, and that's our biodiversity monitoring data. What I'm going to look at is just briefly go into the data manager. Now, what we've got in here, the first thing it shows you is everything that's already in the database. So we've just got one entry in here, our good old Magpie. Now you can of course import data if you want, and we're developing up various routines for importing data. We've already got one for importing data that you may have exported from the GBIF. So if I open a file, this was one for Ranscombe. It brings all the records that were exported from the GBIF and presents them here. At this point, they haven't been imported into your database. As you can see, there's quite a few of them, as well over 11,000 there. You can filter those by the year, so if you wanted to say I'm only interested from everything from 1970, that would be your import filter, and then you would import it into your database, and it would only import those for that year range. Now that's one way of doing it. We may have other sources of data that are being collected or used, and once we know the structure of those, then there'll be scope for those to be imported in a similar fashion. But if you have any thoughts on that, then by all means do please let us know. Another way of course is just to simply enter the data yourself. That's fairly straightforward in many respects. What you've got here is the data that needs to be entered on the left. We've got various search tools on the right hand side here, and we've got a map which will help you pick a location to pinpoint where the observation was made. So I'm going to just create a new record in the database, and what we're going to do is going to search. I'm going to say, well, I'm looking at my window now, I can see a grey squirrel on top of the roof opposite, and so I can see that I've made an observation. Then I'm going to search. Now we've got a database within the software which has lots of scientific names and common names, also stores the IUCN status, and so it will search that database and then it will bring back whatever it finds. So you can do a search by text, and then you can look down the list to see what matches. What you can then do, say once you've selected that, we've got a bit of code in the background which will then look up the taxonomy from the GBIF. So if you don't know that, I mean, you don't have to enter it, then that's fine, but it's useful when it comes to later on, as you'll see in other demonstrations, if you want to sort the data. If you've got a lot of data and you say I only want to see all the data for mammals, then obviously if we can select the class Mammalia there, then that's the one way of filtering the data. But if you don't have that, fine, but it can be looked up directly using the API call to GBIF. So we've got our item entered there. You can just click on this button to add it to your record. So it's added all that data for you. It's added the GBIF nub key as well, which is useful if you want to look up further information about that. But we also want to know where it was recorded. We also want to know the year. Well, we know it was 2023. That's the time when I'm doing this. And then, okay, we want to say, well, where is it? Well, I know I can search for my location. So I'm going to say I'm in St Albans at the moment. So it's located that. I can then pan across to where I can see the squirrel, and I'm going to zoom down and I can say it's around here somewhere. And so you simply say, okay, I can see it on the roof of the house opposite. Where is it? Actually, I'm in the wrong place. There we go, it's just over here. So I can see the grey squirrel perched on the roof there. Puts a marker on the map, knows where that is, and then now if we put that cross, it's put in our latitude and longitude, and that's in there. And as with everything else, you just save that. That's your new record that's gone into the database. If we come out of here, that obviously needs refreshing, so if I come back in again, we can now see that's our new record created in the database. So it's as simple as that in many respects. This is just the data we've got stored in here at the moment. If other data needs add-in, that's fine. We can expand what's stored in that database. It's all within our control. So if there's other ways of getting data in, as I mentioned earlier, then please let us know. If you've got other data sources that you'd like to just be able to zap into this database, we would like to have a look at those and see what we can do with them to make your life easier. If there's other classifications, we'd be interested to know about those as well. So let us know. So that brings me to the end of that relatively quick demonstration. As with all the others, please give us some feedback if you'd like to. That brings me to the end of the demonstration. Thank you.